I'm from the Mana movement. The Mana movement was created in opposition to the way that we felt Māori rights were addressed. But we're growing from there. We've grown from there. There was many 30 years ago, and we're growing from there. We're trying to encapsulate how we can benefit the entire population and society of this country. So I'm excited to be a part of that. And so any questions that you come at me, I've been given full authority by the executive of the Mana movement to answer every question as I deem fit. So if you want to put a question to me and you want a yes or a no, I'll give it to you. I will give it to you here and tonight. I'm not going to muck around. I'm not going to muck around and tell you that I've got to go back to ask my caucus, or I've got to go and ask my leaders, or I've got to go ask somebody from Wellington or from another area about what we can do for the Northland province, for our region up in here. I've heard about the discussions, I've been reading up about what are the issues down here in Wellsford, around down into the kaipara. I'm very passionate about supporting kaipara. The snapper beds are down there, and I don't have a snapper classic on the 90 mile unless kaipara is protected and looked after and make sure that environment is there, not just for the kaipara but for the entire country. So I'm very passionate about supporting kaipara. The issues that I'm here for today is to make sure that if there is any activity in our harbours, that they are so accountable that if there is any issue whatsoever, that is going to be taken care of immediately, or even is never going to exist. I want a zero policy on any issues happening to our environment. And as I understand it, the National Party has allowed Stat Oil to prospect into the kaipara all the way up to Te Rerenga Wairua, and they have been given a clause in their licence that if there's any damage done to your coastline and to your harbour, they don't have to be accountable. This is an issue to your community, because this is a part of why we live in the rural area. Because we're farmers, we're fishermen, we love to live here. We don't want to live anywhere else. I don't want to live anywhere else. I want to live here in the Taitukara in Northland. I want my children to live here. I want my grandchildren to live here and love being a part of the Northland community. I went overseas. I've done a whole big trip overseas, worked in the railways, I worked over in the transport, worked in building. But I came home, even though when I was a kid and my dad put me in the Kumra Gardens and everyone else was going off to play rugby, we had to stay and do the gardens, and I swore I'd never come back. It was the greatest thing that I missed. I missed coming from a community that was based upon principles that were handed down generation to generation to generation. And I'm very staunch about my tikanga, about protocols and making sure that principles are upheld, whether it's in the parliament, whether it's in council, or whether it's in my own home. And so I'm very strong about following those principles, and we need to make sure that this government, whoever gets to stand, are held accountable to us here in Northland. So make sure those questions that you ask me and ask them, make them strong and make them proud, because this is our opportunity to hold them accountable. Kia ora tātou. The media, the mainstream media is ignoring the smaller parties. The mainstream media is actually, I don't know whether under the instruction to kind of stay away from the smaller party conversation and policies and ideas. Perhaps this is because the bigger parties have control and they like to hold control. This is one of the reasons why I chose to stand, was to make sure that this government is accountable, make sure that it's accountable not only to you here today, but also thinking about its responsibilities to tomorrow and to all of our young people. There's some young people in here, and I'm really great to see all the young people that are in here, regardless of whether you can vote or you can't vote. The democratic process, I think, it's not perfect, but it's what we have, and how we utilise it and how we participate in it. That's the big thing that I'm here to support today. I'm on the Māori roll, but that's okay because I'm Māori. But the participation within the democratic process is what I'm really excited to participate in today. I come down from Aipara, and I've always lived in Aipara all my life, born there. I'm from Whangaroa, Aipara. My wife is from Ngāti Hine down in Kawakawa. I am fully opposed to the TPPA. If you read into the TPPA, it gives foreign control to foreign companies. And I'm talking about companies. I'm not talking about governments or people. I'm talking about a company. A company can register, become very, very rich, and then they are protected under the TPPA agreements to hold you accountable, because they can prosecute your government. You have no protection legally because they can come in and prosecute your government, and you have to pay your rates and your taxes. You have to pay that company. The reason why we're in this by-election is because of principles in this government. I think you should be asking us about how we're going to uphold principles, make sure we don't waste taxpayers' money. He promised, well, he didn't promise. What he said to you was, if Northland does not vote for him, for the key and the national government, you won't be getting your roads. You won't be getting your bridges. That is blackmail. I really think you should consider asking these questions and holding this government accountable. Yes, the latest scandal in the national news was about a 500-year-old Cody tree, and they were going to chop it down in Auckland. You know how Cody's. It says, for Northland, we have a very special relationship with the Cody tree. But these guys, they disregarded it. Was because of the RMA Act that it was stopped, and a lot of protesters. I don't know about yours, but they call me an activist apparently, just because I like to stand up and address the issues and try and hold people accountable and keep them honest. All of a sudden I'm an activist. Well, it was those protesters who climbed up those trees and held that tree and stopped it from being cut down. 500 years old. Have a bit of respect for the history of this country, if you ask me. Yeah. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Rueben. Do you think that wannabe MPs and wannabe district councillors should have to undergo a Project Waitangi workshop to learn about especially two documents that affect the people in this country, the Treaty of Waitangi and Te Treaty of Waitangi, which are both very different.
Thank you. I think that's a great question for this audience today to understand about Treaty of Waitangi. The reason why Treaty of Waitangi is important for this forum is that it was signed by two ancestors. There was my ancestor and there was your ancestor, and was signed under the authority of the then Crown. So what that means is that Treaty of Waitangi is not just Māori documents like it's being proposed and educated into the minds of this New Zealand country. It's everybody's document. And within that document, there is a lot of protection. If you feel concerned about the way this country is headed, under the Treaty of Waitangi, if you can understand it, and I implore to you to please go back and understand why Treaty of Waitangi is good for all of Northland and for the entire country. If you go through and if you have a look at Treaty of Waitangi, you will see there are protection mechanisms within that document are there for you, but most importantly for the future of the children that come here, because it protects the resources and it protects how they're allocated and how they're shared. We need some more sharing in this country if we're going to have a better future for the children that are here today.
All right. I'm delighted to see the passion of our speakers up here.